Hey, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to connect the MongoDB and to our backend REST service. So the first thing you need to do is to visit mongodb.com and see the documentation and make sure you install the MongoDB on your OS. So I'm on the Mac, so I just installed MongoDB on my computer, and so to start the MongoDB, I'm just typing MongoD. Alright, that command it can be start the MongoDB server and it. And so one more thing, if you want to download the MongoDB client, so you can search Google for MongoDB client, and I highly recommend Robo3T. Alright, and this is a very good client for MongoDB management. So I already to install the MongoDB client on my Mac as well. So I will start this, right, Robo3T, and connect to my MongoDB localhost on this port and connect. And now you can see our database on my local computer. Right, cool. So I don't want to show you exactly step to how to install the MongoDB, and you can find information in this tutorial and on doc.mongodb.com and install on your OS platform. Okay, so get back to our project, and the first thing we need to do is open to my project on my Sublime text. Cool. So we have two folders. As app is for free app front end and server is the back end. So so this case just want to change the port of our server become to 3001, and because mostly we start React app is listed on port 3000, and so I'm changing this port for easy. And so let me the first thing need to install to start the server app, and by cd server and npm run dev, and this means run the server in the development, and when we may change anything in the course, and automatically refresh the server. Cool. So and this is what we just in the video, the first video, and we have a test with client. We have a two client 1, client 2, but I don't want to test it anymore. So let's I will uncomment all the code here. So comment this, we don't need this, and so I think I can remove it. And so for the web sockets, I uncomment the web socket connection as well. And just we have only app server and listen on port 3001, and so you can see the schematics. Okay, so so to connect to MongoDB, I'm going to install the more packages. So open new tab on my terminal and make sure you are on server application by typing install and stable module, MongoDB and Immutable. Load that and movement. So MongoDB is exactly the library we are going to connect the REST service to MongoDB and Immutable, and this you know it in the React front-end app, and we use it to manage the object and collection array or anywhere. So loadout is helpful, right? We can use it. And movement is for datetime format. Okay, so I think is that enough. Let's save that. So when you install the package, and you should see in the dependency. Right, so we did install it, and right, cool. So right, in this case, I'm going to create a new file. Right, cd server and cd to source file, and I'm going to create a new file equal to router app router.js. So we got app router.js, and we need to declare a new class, export default class app router, and constructor app, and z.app equal app, right? And we call to z.setup router. Alright, setup router, we want to setup router. Alright, the first thing we need to make to console.log, alright, router work. Alright, just make console. And here I want to do setup router equals this setup router by this. Okay, so we need to import app router into index file. Let me close the package transition, and here, right, so we can do by app.router equal new app router, and pass the parameter application to initialize function. So we have init new app router, but now you can see the app will be crashed, and now you should see app crash because app router is not defined. So we have to import app router from, alright, so index file and app router is the same directory. So it's just app router. Sorry, don't need to include extension. So it's just app.router. Cool. So now you should see the function matrix app is running and app router is work. Cool. So that means now I'm going to create a new endpoint for example, and here we have it. All right, endpoint equal API, all right, or slash, and Mantis should be get. That means we can do by cause app equals z.app. Alright, so we currently get the app from constructor method. So in this case, that means we can do by get slash and required response and make. And here we can simply return rest utilization hi there. Cool. So and that means now let's see in our server, and it automatically refreshes and on port 3001. So we can browse it on localhost 3001. Right. So you can see the map is high there and JSON format. Cool. So for example, I can do import, alright, movement from movement, and here we can do by export card start time equal new date, and that means we can do by when the app restart we can return start this start when it start. All right, start this start time, and here that means now refresh the browser, you should see exactly date time when it start, or even you can want to know how many days from now for movement start time and from now. So in here refresh now a few seconds ago because the server is just restart, right? So it's cool. Alright, so I'm going to make a new model or its user. So we have it to I'm going to create a new model for, and for example I am going to do this. So let's copy this, and this is a endpoint now become to API user, and method become to port. Right, API user. This endpoint we are going to create new user. Right, so app.port. Right, API user, and we have a request, response, and next. Alright, so we can get, so simply in GK I'm return red.json, so we start try 200.json, and so exactly what's the data from user port. For example, cost body equal request.body, and in this case return JSON body. Cool. So in that means we have a new endpoint for created user in this port method. So we have to use Postman or any other plugin to make a test in the port request. So Postman I recommend to do this. Okay, so I'm changing to method to post, and here we copied our localhost 3001 user. Sorry, it should be API user. And right here, I'm going to port with the JSON format. Right, select JSON, and for example, I'm porting my name equal, right, and email. And it's exactly the user format, and that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's see. So we get exactly what we get in here. We get body equal name, email, and password. So if you simply return this body, so this is exactly what we get with our body at root key. So now again, see, so we get back. Right, cool. So to do this, I'm going to create a new model. Alright, so inside this, so we have created new folder model, and inside model, I'm going to create index file, index.js, and index.js I'm going to define new class. Sorry, for default class model, and we have a constructor as well, app. And in this app, I'm going to this user equal new user app. Alright. So this dot app equal app, and new user dot app. We don't have any user model, so we have to create that. So took model user dot js. So we got user file. So same thing, we need to import default class user, and we have a constructor as well app, and g.app equal app. Right, cool. So we got apps, right, model and user. So we have a model class and how to use a model in that file. This is our server, and here I'm going to do app.model equal new model. So how to, right, so we got a new initialize new model right here, and we have to import that. Import model from, right, model is a in folder model and index. In this case, when we include index, we don't need to include index, just model, and that is will work. Alright, so we got app.model and new model should be path parameter app to the initialize function. So in this case, we can do by code user. Alright, so we can do by app.model. Alright, so we have app.model. We can set app.model, and inside model we have a user. Add a new user, right? And new user, we have to import the user model as well. So import user from user, and the user in the same directory. Alright, so it needs to lie user. Cool. So so we can set app.model, and inside model we have user, and so simply we can do by this.app.model at user and create something. Alright, created user or body. So inside app.model.user.created, now you see app crash when I submit a new part. See the app.model.created is not function because in our user model class we don't have a new function is a create. That create should be object. Alright, create user. Right. And so here I can make the console log user, right, user. And so we can see how it works. Alright, cool, app restart, and here make the request. And in our console we can see user and with object from our input, and here I want to change to 3 and 5, and in our console we should see right backward change. Cool. So that is how we can check a user model. Alright, so and one more thing we need to do is connect the database to Mongo. So alright, so in struct file I'm going to create a new file to database.js, and right here, and export default class database. So contractor, right, app. So we don't need a contractor any app anymore. So alright, and we call to connect, and we have default. So we just install the package, right? Package from above is a MongoDB. So we can do by import Mongo client from MongoDB. Alright. So in this case we can call MongoDB client.connect. It's URL, and call back to error or db. I'm using arrow function. So right here I'm going to make log to console connect to database with arrow, and so alright, so we have a URL. I'm going to fit URL equal by cat URL equal exactly, right, cohort Right, we see what the reports in. Let's close this and spot in 27017. Alright, 27017 017. Cool. Right, and our database name should be chat app. Right. So in here we can add URL and so how to use a database class into index file. So before we init our slide model, I'm going to make connect to database Mongo database and connect to Mongo. Right. So in this case, right, we got new database dot connect to function and the connect. So the first thing we need to import the database. Import database from, so database exactly same folder. Alright, so database. Alright, cool. And so we initialize new database and call to connect function, and I want to get a callback with arrow or db. So now you should see app should be crashed because we don't have any callback function. In this case, we should have a callback right here equal the first thing default, right? And this means we can return callback error or db. So now you should see, all right, app running on this part and return, we return right here. So in this case, all right, in the index file, I'm going to debug this. Right, so now you should see connecting to database with arrow is null, and that means the database successfully. And what happens if I turn off the turn off the MongoDB and we refresh our server by npm run app again? Now you should see the matrix. Alright, should see the matrix connected to database with arrow and fail to connect this. Cool. So again, to start MongoDB and restart the app. Now we should see the MongoDB is connected, right? So alright, in this case I'm going to do this. If error, we can return throw or even throw error, and otherwise we make to app.db equal db and console.log. Alright, do or return this and connect successful connected to database. Okay, I want again see the server. I return if error. I can we see the message successful connected to database, and that is how the callback function works in JS. Alright, so someone will ask me like this. Alright, I don't want to use a callback function, and I want to use permit. Alright, so slide this new database in this slide and connected, and then we have a db, and this means console.log, right? Successful full connected to database, and otherwise we catch an error, right? Error, and we log, we throw error. So you want to use a permit function, so I will show you an example to you how to use that. Right, so now we should see app is crashed because we don't see any then we just use the method is the callback, not permit. So let's remove this, and right here we can do app.db equal db. Okay, so how to do that? And this means in our database we don't need to call back anymore, and remove this. Right, in case we return new promise. New promise is exactly has two parameters. The first parameter is a result, and next parameter is reject, and we reject any error. And here we copy the Mongo client connect to database within permit function. And so we don't return callback because no callback function anymore. In this case, we can check if error, we return reject error, or otherwise we return result resolver db. And that is how it works. It should work. So now we see successful connect to database. In our index file, we use a permit function. Right, so in this statement we can make it in one line of code. Right, simply we do this. So return if we check an error, let's reject error, and otherwise resolve db. Alright, it's one line of code and make it better. Right, so I don't think we need to contract it anymore because we don't need pass any parameter. So the same thing is app is work. Cool. So this is how we connect to our application Node.js to MongoDB. Cool. Let's close our database and get back to our browser. We have a user and port. So I'm going to save a user object into our database. Right now we don't have any database created, and here so we call app.user.createBody, and so in this case we create new function then call back user and catch error. We are going to create permit function, but at the moment if user create successful, we return json.user, and otherwise we return responded started, right, and json error equal error. So the app should be correct when I submit a new port because we call to user.create is a not permit function. So we want it to be permit function when return new permit. And the same thing we did in the database, we have two parameters. The first thing is the resolve, and the next one is the reject. So, alright, if I call reject, return reject. Alright, some error, right? User not found example, and now you should see in our client when we report new request, and you should see an error user not found with started code. Cool. And so what happened if I return result and user, and exactly the same parameter user object from. So and here we see the call back exactly a user brand. Also, I hope you can understand about the prompt function and callback function in Node.js. Alright, cool. So in this case, I will connect to database, and so the first thing I think will resolve this temporary return user object. For now, cool. And so before create user, now we see user post any email, for example email like this, and or even create name without name or without email. So the first thing we need to do is the validation of all the user inputs. So the first thing we need to do is before save. Alright, I'm going to create a new before saver. So before say, we can do by the first thing is the user object, and we can do callback function or even its permit. So I think we can choose a callback for now. In this case, the callback default temporary empty function. And so in this case, we can do current.before user parameter with pass parameter user, and the callback should be an arrow or user. Sorry, callback should be right here. So before saver, we got an arrow or user. So if error, we return reject error, and otherwise we insert new user object to user collection. Cool. So in this case we call app, right? So we do by it code db equals this.app.db. So how we access this app.db, because app to see path parameter when we initialize in our database, and we can in model and index file. So we got initialize user app, and in the index file we set when the connect successfully to database, we set app.db equal db. So and that means in this case we can access db cast db exactly from this app.db and db.collection user and insert one. So insert one in this case is the user object, and we got a callback error and info. So after insert to user, we have to check. The first thing to check if error, we return error as well to user. So we can return reject. Alright, reject any error. So for now, I think we reject method an error saving user. Right, so if error, we check if error, return reject, and otherwise return resolver, and exactly is user. Okay, so and otherwise return user object to user. Cool. And in this case, we don't need to return and right and end. So before saver, and here we can do the first is the validate a user object. object before say to our DB user collection. So alright, so this to do this for return less error equal so an array. So arrow equal array and cut field we fill exactly the user fields equal an array. So we got name, email, password, and this is the auth of field we need to validation. And here I want to cut validation equal should be right object. The first thing you need to do is name. So name should be alright. So we have error matrix. Name is required and do to function do validate. So do equal a new function. Alright, return it, return. Alright, I'm going to use a load that function right here, import underscore from load that. And here we can get cost name equal load that function get user from parameter is name and default empty. So return name dot length. So alright, so if name dot length is return true or otherwise return 4. So at email we have an object with error matrix equal email is not correct or email is required, something like that. And we have a function do equal function and check email. The first thing we need to do is if so cut email equal alright, so the load that function gets user email. Right, if email dot length not email dot length. Right, default give empty and we return 4 and default we return true, and that means default is correct, but if we check the email not is an empty, alright, we return 4. And one more thing is email should be in the exactly for email format. So I'm going to use a regex from email regex.com and here this we can find any regex format. So and PHP, Perl, Ruby, and Swift, and HTML5. Alright, this is exactly we need JavaScript, and I copy that. So alright, so I am going to make a new file. In this case, so in short file observer, I took helper.js, and in helper, I'm going to export card function. Right, is the email. Right, is the email. Alright, and equal function email and card regex. Alright, this is regex. I just copy from Perl and return regex dot test email. Right, so in this case we can use either email from helper. So inside user class I'm going to import either email from our helper. Outside of model should be helper. Cool. So right, if not email and not either email we pass primary from it, we return 4. Okay, one more time is the path world. Path world should be aromatic. Path world is required and more than 3 characters. So do validate function should be return. So by default we return true. And okay, if so code passwords equals to loadout function gets user and password default empty. So if passwords dot lang, alright, not passwords dot lang and or alright, so I got something wrong in email format. We can use the or not and because one of those are not matched, we can return a false. Right, so if not email just lang, if not password just lang or password just lang is less than 3, so we return 4. Okay, so enough. So before save and we have a guard of validation, and here I want to loop I through all the field and field dot for each. Right, field name, and here we got, so we got a list of arrow in array. By default it's empty, so in this case, so we can get got field validation equal get function. So we get exactly the field validation. It should be returned or the arrow method and do function. So right in, let's copy the validation, and this means equal validation dot field, but in some case the field and validation is undefined, so I want to use a loadout function to make sure it's not undefined. So with if validation field validation, and then we do check cause is the valid equal field validation dot do, and if not is the validation, that means the check is the return a 4, and here we can do like our arrow dot put, we put a new arrow to arrow arrays above, and put a new arrow should be there. Right, I think we do this by put new arrow the matrix cosmetics set equal field validation dot aromatics. Aromatics, exactly aromatics we define above here. Right. So we put, that's it. Cool. So we loop all through field to check if validate or not. Cool. And here, so and finally we check it if error dot length, and this means this is not part of the validation. So we need to return, alright, return user, alright, so return and the first parameter callback. First parameter is equal aromatics, and snake equal null because this arrow show cause arrow equal, I'm going to zone use a loadout function and zone, alright, arrow and with comma, and so let me show you in the test. Cool. So we can do return message error. Okay, so before server user, and here I'm going to make a new console log. After validation, we got error and user. So make a test. Right, the first thing we need to check if I make something went wrong in our server, and here make to the port to server. The first thing we need to give a my name, cool, exactly, an email. So wow, it's nothing happened. If arrow does length. Alright, so is it mean if arrow does length? But in this case, no arrow. So we have to check this. L or return callback. An arrow, no more arrow. Null and user. Cool. So one more time, make a test again. So right, we return this. Alright, it's already inserted to our database. Alright, in here we got the chat app and user collection. Alright. Okay. So, and let's see in our server, we key after validation, use arrow in null, and we got the user. Right. So cool. And what happened if I change my name to empty? Or sorry, it should be from input body. Change my name to empty, and what we see? Submit. We got an arrow name is required, and what happened if change email to something is not validation? So we got to aromatic name is required and email is required, or so we can change email to aromatic. For example, email is not correct. So we can do that, correct. And this means now send new, we got email is not correct. And I think we don't need to include dot function dot character in x. So in this case we got better require name. Cool. So okay, so let's change password to 1 2 and see how is validation. So the password is required and more than 3 characters. Right, I've made a typo right here, character. Cool. And so we got db.collection.insert one user and return. Right, we have chat up at collection and we got user and user ID. So one more time, let's try to insert new user, and we got some new issue need to be fixed. For example, 1 2 3 and 4, and here we got user, right, an object ID and return this. And problem is we got 2 email is the same 2 email, so we need to validation email before insert this, and also we need to encrypt the password as well. So okay, so we need to validate the password. So in this case, if arrow does length, and here, right, so we need to check email either exists in DB or not. So right, so I'm going to do this.app.db.collection user.file1 where email equal, so we got got email equal. So I'm going to user loadout function team and get user email and also copy that and to lower and with lower k of email and this k email and we find one email and cross arrow and results, and here we can check this if errors return callback. So in this case, the first thing you need to do is console.log error and results, checking email with results. So alright, so let's submit one more WK email. Oh, sorry. Email. Right here, and we see in our browser. And after validation is a null, that means validation is a path. And here we can see checking email with results is a null. Alright, so cool. So one more time, we submit again, same data. And we got checking email with results. So, okay. So first thing we need to do, alright, so I got an issue in my collection, should be user. Alright, so once again, hit submit. We should see an checking email with result error equal null, and we got an object right here. So when we got the object, then that means an email is in user. Someone uses that email, and we can return this. So if error or results, and we return callback. Alright, so Mattis email is already user. Alright, add this and do like that. And the next parameter should be null, user object null, and otherwise we return callback and null and user. So cool. And we don't need to call back anymore. And let's see one again. I'm submit. I think we should got an error message. So we got error message right here. Email is already exists. So if someone uses this email and we don't add them to in database, right? So refresh our database and clear all document. And now let's again hit send. Now we got a new message, and one again hit submit. We got an error message. And problem A, we don't store a plain text password like this. It's the unsecurity. So alright, that's why I'm going to use a new library. Alright, it's change to server app and npm install bcrypt. And we can encode these passwords and we can compare it later. Okay, so done. So we can use a bcrypt in our user, and by import it bcrypt from bcrypt. And right here, when we check our user file one, is right here, this mean return success. Then go back with success. Check. So in this case, we do by cause hash password equal bcrypt dot hash synchronous to be, and the first thing is the user password, and cause password equal user loadout function user password. And in this case we pass the first parameter, and next parameter is a search route, and search route is we can define its number in cause search route to be 10. Okay, so after that, and here we can do code user format equal an object, and here we need to format our user from the user from input. We make sure this is correct, and here we need to do is a name. It should be a string get user name, and someone trying to insert an object right here, so we don't store this. So get username, cool. And next thing, email should be, I going to copy this email right here, and we lowercase Gmail and team email, and the name I think we can also team email, team is user, team is, and password now to be hash password, and we can compare it later, and created date time when user register, and should be new date and default. Okay, so what's else? So we have in avatar, but in this case we don't have an upload function. We do it later. So for now, keep it empty. I think it's enough. And here we can return a user after we format. In this case, someone else want to try to prod a new user with like this, and email equal like this. So test, and here test 1 and the password, and here we got a lot of white space between before and end the text, and here trying to submit it, and email is not correct, and we are uppercase email, and now we can see email is not correct. We got an empty space right here, and remove it, and so we got the passwords. Now it's encrypt and much better. And so we got the date time when user created an email. So you see email is the first character equal uppercase, and after format we remove uppercase, and the name, it had a lot of space top and bottom as a stop or before and end after that, and we removed it. And let's see in our database we got what, and we got this object ID tag. Cool, and that is how it works. Okay, so we got saved that, and one more thing, when we port a new user, create user, and we got the password field, and we return the user password. This is not it doesn't security. So what I need to do in this cap router, so I'm going to import import underscore from loadout, and here we return a user. In this case we can do user loadout and set user, and field name is a password, and we don't return the user password anymore. And again, submit. We got an error because email already exists, and change the name to ted2 and ted2. The password is 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we know more password field in user callback, and that is very better, much better in security. Cool. Okay, so we got a part of create user, and how we are. I want to make a new API user, and we got the user ID right here. So right now you see cannot get because this API endpoint do not exist. So we have to create it. So let's first thing we need to copy it. And API endpoint ID and method now become get. So we do this app.get API user and ID. And the same thing we got an arrow function which required response and next. Okay, so give it a little bit space at top, bottom, and here I can do app.model.user.load. We got ID called user ID equal to load that function. We get request parameter, param and ID, right? So if you change param to name, and here we can get by name. But in this case with user ID, so alright, this ID. And call user model and load user ID. And then we also got then user, alright, return rest.start 200 success code and JSON user and cat arrow. We return JSON, right, starting start not found, and not found is the 4404 and JSON arrow and arrow. Okay, so now you should see, now refresh it, it should be crashed. Right, in this case I'm going to uncomment this code and return a temporary matrix for return JSON hi there. And so now you got a new matrix at JSON format in browser. So hello, hi there, cool. So right, get back to our function and uncomment the code, and we got app crash, and we don't have a load function in user model, so let's create a new method. Alright, so load ID, sorry, and here we can do right, return new parameter to parameter resolve and reject. Same thing do. For example, in this case, I'm return resolve, and so right card user equal something. So and resolve user, and here and browser we can get exactly something. Cool. So right, if I change to return reject, and now we got the error matrix. Right, error matrix reject. Okay, so let's see, or even if you want to make a tag in Postman, let's copy that and open in new tab and select get and here we can get the 44404 and not found. And if we change back to result, alright, so we got something. Alright, cool, and 200 code is a success code. Alright, cool. So first thing we need to do is create file user by ID, and the file user by ID, the first parameter ID and callback e, right, callback equal default function, and here we do this.app.model db.collection user.file1 by ID. So we got ID equal, so ID is a plain text, and we have to format it to import object ID from MongoDb. Alright, and here we need to format this by cos by user ID equal new object ID from parameter. And here we can pass the user ID right here. So we check this if not ID and return callback. Error matrix equal user not found and make parameter null. Otherwise we find one. The find one, the first parameter is a conditional. The query we find user with ID match. For in this case, we are going to find an ID with matches object ID key. So we can make a query like this: RID underscore ID and user ID to be object ID, and next parameter equal error and result. So in this case, if error or not result, and that means we return callback. Alright, matrix user not found, and otherwise return callback null result. Okay, so in this case we have a load ID, and let's call this dot sorry, we can call it this.file user by ID, sorry, file user by ID with the first parameter ID we pass from our parameter in the next should be error or user. And here we can do just one line of code. So return if error, we return reject and error, and otherwise resolve user. And here in this case, let's see in our app router we load user. Cool. So let's see in test department, refresh this. Now, so you see in the user we got its callback, and one more issue is we got password field here. So in API endpoint we can do by unset user object with password field. We don't return user password anymore, and even we can hide email later. So cool, this is how it works. And let's copy another ID. Alright, so we got ID. So let's copy. So open in JSON format. So with this, let's copy this ID and path to our browser. Now you should see tag one or path to Postman. Now we see tag one, and let's copy my ID, and here we got my user callback exactly. Cool. So what we change to some key, for example 9, and let's see what method we got. The method error user not found and switch 404 started course. Cool. This is how we this. And I will show you very cool thing in our in the development technology. Right, so we got this. And so alright, so let me show you one more time. I refresh, and so I'm going to in user, so file user in file user by ID. This is exactly we query our user by ID from MongoDB. So first thing, need to make the console begin query in database. So right here, so when we open the server, and now you should see, now refresh the page, and you should see a message begin query database. And again, now you should see again begin query database. So my idea is when the user create new user and we store in cake. So in here we do by this.user equal new or this map. So we have to import this, import or this map from immutable. So in this case we have a new or this map and empty. And when we create a new user, so let's see, and where we create a new user, right here in insert, and right here, and we do this.user equals this.user and set. So we cut user ID right here, like cut user ID equal user. So I'm using loadout function, get user underscore ID, and this is the object ID, but I want user ID to be string, so we can do this by set user ID, or even we can do this by toString. And here we can set the user ID, and we got the user right here, and copy that. So we set a new user to object, and when we load a new user, we can find in cake first. So when we load the user, and here we don't call to find user by ID, and the first thing we need to do is find in cake. If found, we return and don't need to query DB. So the first thing we need to do is call user equal, alright, so user in cake equal this.user.get. So we got ID right here, alright, get ID, and if user in cake, right, if we found this, we just return it, return reserver user in cake. Cool. Okay, and if not found, then we start query DB. Alright, so in this about. So if not found, we start query in database, and when we got the user, so in right here, if not error and user, so we set a new code user. So we do by this.user equal this.user.set. We got ID right here, and ID and user object. Cool. Now, okay, so here we go. Let's make a test. the first thing you need to do is to refresh. Now you should see, because when the app restart and no more item in the cache, and this means when we hit get user first time, we got a query database, we got a method begin query database. And now, alright, so let's, and here I'm going to hit again. Okay, so we got something right here, an error method. So we don't see any query anymore, but so why we got, sorry, resolver user in cache, set id. Right, so first thing I need to do, make the console does log user in cache. Right, something happened. And the next thing we need to make sure we set this console log id e, and make sure id and type id, and to make sure what kind of id, we need to make sure id equals string. And so one again, we should see begin. Alright, again, so what happened? Right, refresh the server, root refresh, and again hit set for. I found a problem is we call resolver, it's wrong. So this is my typo issue, and we should call a resolver and here. And so first thing we need to remove this, and we don't need log anymore. Okay, so let's try again. First thing we should see a query to database and begin to query database, and the next time we refresh this and we don't see any begin query anymore, right? So it's automatically refreshed from cache. And here now I'm going to try to create more user, and so we have a tet3. Alright, tet3, and so we got this ID. And now, so let's forget about this method, and we don't need, and here we are going to copy this ID and hit send. Now I think we don't see any begin query to database because it's select automatically from cache and much faster, and it look like real time. So no need to query in database, and that is how it goes. And we cache data in our application. Cool. So alright, and one more time I'm going to make a login, right? Login. So in our app, and we're going to copy this, and API user and login. And login should be port method. We port the first thing we need to username and email. So what I can do, app.port further API user and login. First parameter request, next parameter respond, and next. And so we can do, so first thing we need to return JSON something, right? So let's see the body, and we can get the body card body, card body equals the loadout function request and body. Cool. So app user login. So let's see. Alright, app should be refreshed, and here we are going to get back to and create new map port, and should be our logo host. Copy that and user login and change to the port methods. And support methods in login, we have something like this. It should be JSON format with email and password. Login should be email and password. Email, for example, my email and password. Right, sorry. Password should be 3, something like that. And we should get back exactly the data we sent. Cool. And so in this case, I'm going to make a new function in user. So the first thing you need to do is this dot, alright, so app.model.user.login. So login is the body, and we have a permit then so we can see the token, and token we can do console log successful, alright, successful login user, and with token data, and we cast an arrow and return red.json. First thing we need to start code. Alright. Alright. An auto result code should be 401 and JSON arrow. So arrow in this case, so we can do login arrow, something like that. Or even we can copy arrow from this. And when we successfully get back token and return res.start 200 and JSON with format token. Okay, so we got it, and here, right, so we have to create a new login user model, and right here now I'm trying to submit login. We see class because app.model user login is a not function. In this case, I'm going to make a new function is a login. This login should be help user, and now we check this. So alright, so the first thing we need to do is right, the first thing I think we need to validate email, and before say, so simply we do if not user, sorry, cause email equal dot get user email, and before if empty string, and cause password equal get user password. So default, and here we made to check if not password or not email or not either email. We need to validate email as well, and not either email, right, email parameter and return. So in this case we do have to return new promise, to be promise function, two parameter per equal resolver and reject, and let's copy that. Cool, so it's not, we return reject, sorry, should be correct, reject mathis, right, login, right, an error login. So nothing, the math is simple like that. And otherwise we need to find in database. with email. And in this case, I'm going to create a new function for user by email and email address. And the next parameter is a callback. Callback by default an empty function. And we can do by this app.db.collection user file 1 exactly email. We find email matches email form parameter, and the next parameter equals error or result. In this case, so right here we can return callback. So in this case, do this if error or not results. And so we can take if error or not found any user with match email. So we can do return callback an error with matches user not found, like that, and otherwise return callback null result exactly user. So in this case, we can do by this.find user by email, the email from parameter, and next is an error or result, or is user, should be user. In this case, so we got error. So first thing we need to check this if error, and this means return reject the matrix user right login error in that. And otherwise, the first thing, and here we can do return for temporary. We can return resolver user, and that means resolver, not mature. And it does mean we, so in this case, if file user, we have to compare the part where has and plain text, but do it later. For now, give it a user and for tagging. So in this case, let's see. Right. So I think the API class. Alright, find user by email, cool. So problem is, find user email, it should be callback, and we return callback, correct. And the callback should by default temporary empty function. And here, alright, so we got this. And for now, you can see the part what is 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's problem E. This user is a 2.0, and so we need to clear everything here and make a tag again. For example, I'm going to create a user name equal 1, and email is my email address. And the part where is 1, 2, 3, and 4 is send, got back. And one more time, like Alexander, something like that, and Alex. And the part where is 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we got it. And more user Kevin, submit, and we have Kevin, and the password the same. Okay, so far so good. We have three people in user collection, and the first thing is me and Alec and Kevin. So let's see, I'm going to make a login with Alex, and the password 123, but the password should be 1 2 3 and 4. And so we got back an if array Alex1. Now you should see a login error. It's because no more email in exists in system. So the next thing we need to compare this password. So if we found user and we have to compare, alright, so let's see, we are using bcrypt. So let's see what is the compare the password function in this module. And we got it should be compare synchronous. Right, compare synchronous, the first thing is a plain text password and hash. So what we did do, right, compare synchronous. Let's copy that function and here, right, so cost, right, password, right, cost password is exactly user password. So it is plain text password, and here cost hash password equal, I'm going to load that function get, and here we got the user. So I think we got a result, and here we return the result, and we got the results and password. So we do compare we already import bcrypt on the top of class, and here we can compare it by call bcrypt.compare synchronous. The first thing is the user password from the input, and the next thing is the hash password, and cost match is a match, right? So equal, and here we make the console log passwords match, and here we have is a match, and let's see in our console. So first thing is change to Alex and make sure we have a got Alex in our user collection, and default we should return, and let's see in our console we got password is a matches equal 4, and that means in this case the password is not correct, and here we need to compare to is exactly the password when we register a new user. Alright, so let's see, and in our console password matches true, and that means we see. Alright, in this case we can do this by if not is a match, we return reject error. So the method should be login error. Okay, so that is how it works, and otherwise return results. So in this case 1 2 3 and 4, and change the password to login error. So simply we can do, right, so the message to passwords do not match, but it's very dangerous. I don't want to show that message to the user because in this message someone else can debug our application with so they can know email either exit and just password is not correct and try to change password, and I want to show to the end of user with the same error should be login in error, so they don't know what is it, right? So someone can't debug our function, and this is better. Okay, so we got the login. So when login successfully, I want to return a user with a token device. So in this case, so in this case I want to, in this case we got user login successful. And so let's create a new token and say to token collection, right? Token collection. And here we can do by, so we got model and user, right? So I'm going to create a new more model. In this case, our server and took. So first thing cd to model, right? src model and took token.sayat, and we got this. So close this, import default class token. Alright, so we have a constructor app, g.app equal right here. So we got this, and here in our model index, so we got this.token, new token, app, and all the way, and usually we have to import token from the same folder, so just simply to give it token. Cool. So token and inside token. Alright, so in user, when we log in, and here let's create token by this.app dot this.app.model.token dot create new token. Create a new token with the user object, and here we can do by user ID. I think user ID is enough. So our user ID card user ID equal, alright, user is equal results dot ID. So right, so simply we can do, okay, so it's cool. So this app.token.create a new user ID and then token, right, return, and here we got token, and so in this case will return token. So and catches arrow and return this, return visit matrix login arrow. So well, we got token created, but inside token, let's try again. So we got an arrow app because app.model.token.create is not file. So inside token, right, token, I'm going to create it, create with user ID, and here got token equal, alright, user ID equal user ID, and created new date. And so we can do a price, is a price time later, but for example, and try to price, no, don't need to match. So for example, we can do later for 1 day, record 1 day equal movement, right? So we can do like compare import movement on the top and from now and flirt with 1 hour. So example, import movement from movement, and here apply in 1 hour and or 1 day. So yes, do by movement dot right dot add 1 day to date And here, so we can do one apply in 1 day. Okay, and that is how it works. But in this video, I'm going to not to implement apply of token, and we can implement the apply in later. Okay, so we got the token here, and this.app.db.token, collection token dot insert one token object right here, and arrow info and if arrow. Right, create a new token should be a promise function, so it should be promise. We return new promise and resolver reject. Right, so if arrow we return reject. So one line of code, right? So return with arrow, right? Reject arrow, and otherwise resolver right token object. And so gets back to our user, and here we got after create a new token and we resolver token, and here let's see. And so we got a token, its ID exactly token ID, and so in our database we should see a new collection is a token, and token is what we token ID exactly what the ID when we do in authorization in header. And so I think I will introduce it in the next video. Okay, and we got user ID token. Alright, so created should be created. That's my mistake. In token. Cool. So again, and when we return to user, I want to include the user object as well. So in this case, we return token and return it token and token dot user equal what about user and should be results. And so in this case, I'm going to right. So let's see again login. We got user here and passwords. I want to remove the password. So get back to our login and in router, app router. In the app router, I'm going to, where is the login? We got a token right here. I'm going to unset token object with user and password. So let's see it again. Alright, unset should be load that function. And here, cool, so no more passwords in the return this. It's cool. And when we log in, so we can use the login callback to save it in our local store and token ID. Right, so I think I will stop the video here. I think it's so long, and see you in the next video. Bye for now. Thanks for watching.